Hello, hello. How are you today? It's a glorious day. It's a fourth line day. I love fourth line days. I have 11 fourth lines, so I love fourth line days and the opportunities they bring. And it's summer, which is also really lovely. And we are looking at gate 56, the gate of stimulation in the fourth line, called expediency. We're moving into the upper trigram, of course. It's the foundation of the upper trigram. And the fixed fourth line is here to externalize the nature of its hexagram, and in this case, expediency. At the other end of the channel, we find the 11-4, which is called the teacher, and it is an exalted line. Our evolutionary process was changed by a mutation that took place in the axis of the 11-4 and the 12-4. The 12-4 is the prophet, the arousing of the stagnant. This mutation opened up the communicating capability in our throat. It was the dropping of the larynx. The opposition to that 12-4 is the 11-4, the teacher. It's a line that is broken up into three possibilities. There is the teacher, the guru, and the sage. All of the possibilities for being able to communicate philosophical and conceptual ideas. And bear in mind, genetic continuity means that all fourth lines have this potential to be a prophet, a teacher, a guru, a sage. So when you're looking at the 56-4, you're looking at a direct resonance to this very important line of being able to teach in the 11-4. In the fourth line, we are dealing with the process of externalization. This is the beginning of the transpersonal process. The fourth line realizes that there is an idea at the other end and that they need to be able to handle that idea, understand it. To be a good stimulator, they need to externalize it. This externalization is about being focused and being very clear about the thing that they are pushing across. They can be really one-tracked in that process. Would it surprise anyone to know that I have the 56-4 in my personality north node? Taking the idea of human design and externalizing it, using the detail I have in gate 62 and a bit of the fantasy that I have in gate 41. The other thing to recognize about all fourth lines is that they are rooted in the concept of opportunism. All fourth lines, they only get to externalize at the right moment. And if they try to externalize in the wrong timing, it really doesn't work well for them, because of their very fixed nature. In my own experience, I was initiated into this opportunity to share the transits, and it felt correct. And the timing must have been good because this is working really well. And I still have the energy to do this every day. So this is about timing and getting things right. And it's the throat gate. So with the throat gate, you need to do things in the right timing or people are just not going to hear you. They'll go somewhere else. And that person might be saying exactly the same thing, but that person is in the right timing and they will be heard. It's really funny the way that it works. Not always funny, ha-ha, but it works. Exaltation, the perfection of the superficial personality that can mask, when essential, its true feelings to secure protection. The gift for stimulation as a role and for protection. Imagine that the 56 is a microphone and the 11 with the ideas is the voice. The microphone is not interested in taking on the persona of the 11. It's a mask. It is simply going to release the information. And it's very important to understand that in this fourth line, it's this, they are the ultimate storyteller. They are telling stories as a role. And it is superficial. This is somebody who is just a good storyteller. And in that role of being a storyteller, they can stimulate you and get the idea across. And they don't have to believe their own stories. It's not necessary in order to be able to stimulate others with it. The story is a delivery system. To be the storyteller is the method of delivery. So knowing when to stimulate is the gift of this line. There is a fixedness on this. It's a role that can be taken on fully, and there is often a protection aspect to it. Ra said that we can relate this from school, when there was always one kid in the class who made everything into a joke. This is expediency. It's using stimulation for protection. It's like, if I make the bully laugh, I won't lose my teeth. And I'm only going to make people laugh if it's going to protect me. This actually wasn't my experience. I had to grow into this as it's my North Node. So I didn't have that when I was at school, but I knew a kid who had that. I have no idea what their chart was, but there often is a child like that in school. In the detriment, expedient behavior whose price is a constant stressful alertness and nervous anxiety in fear of losing what has been gained. The role as reality and the fear of silence and of being uncovered. It's often surprising, even though it's practically a tradition in the profession, when people find out that comedians are depressives. That they have very unhappy personal lives, that they're not funny with their friends or at home. This is the uncovering of that stimulating mask. But stimulation is there to get a reward. And the reward is that others believe what you tell them. And this can create despair or hopefulness in them, one or the other. That's the reward for the stimulator. These people, they believe their own story, this detriment. Instead of telling a story to stimulate you, they will put themselves into that story. It's a kind of a lie in that sense. And then they believe their own propaganda. These are the kind of people who get caught up in all of that. The role as reality. The fear of silence and of being uncovered. In other words, these are people who will use storytelling to make sure that everybody notices who they are. And because they use storytelling to be noticed, they will lie in that storytelling. They go in for a job interview and they say, oh yes, I've done that for many years and I know how to do it very well. And in that moment, they might believe it themselves. But then they get the job and it's shown that they put themselves forward in a place where they had no business being. One of the things to recognize about the nature of this is that those people, they get caught up in their own story and start believing their own story. They will always end up being challenged. There's no question about that. And those who simply come out with the storytelling as a way to get the information across, they show the other side of that capacity. In both cases, you have people who must stimulate others, and this is the underlying force. It's a fourth line. It's a line of externalization. It's a driving force in that process. The key is wait for the opportunities, and that is true for every fourth line. I heard a slightly alarming story a couple of days ago. My stepson-in-law was telling me about, oh no, it was Zoe, it was my stepdaughter. She was saying about a friend of hers who uses AI to tell stories, bedtime stories to his children. So he will ask his kids what they'd like a story about. So say it might be unicorns on Saturn. And so he'll go to AI and he'll say, create me a story that is suitable for six-year-olds based around unicorns and Saturn, and make it funny and make it stimulating and interesting, but not too exciting because it's a bedtime story. And it will just choose something and spit it out within 30 seconds. And apparently it's excellent. The kids love it and they get very engaged by it, very stimulated by it, in the sense that it fuels their imagination and their fantasy. I think, wow, that's interesting, isn't it? What does that mean for our storytellers? interesting thing to ponder. I have not got an answer to that. And as a 56-4, as a sort of storyteller, I do wonder where that takes us. You know, one day at a human design conference, will somebody, whoever is giving the conference, will just stand on the stage and take questions, feed it into AI and wait for AI to churn it out? You know, can you tell me about the 56 gate in the style of Bambaji? And there it will come. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I could stay at home in bed. Would I still get a fee? I wonder. It's interesting. Where is AI going to take us? It's all part of the 2027 mutation, isn't it? And the change that's coming, and the new environment that we're going to be living in, where humans are not going to be the primary species anymore, not in terms of the way that nature will support them, because the nature is going to be supporting the new species, the rave. So is this part of all of that happening, that we have nothing to contribute anymore in that sense, other than being the bodies that bring the rave in? Interesting. I'm actually teaching a class on this. This isn't why I'm not trying to drum up business, although if you want to come, please do. But I'm teaching a class on 2027 as part of the Rave Cosmology series that I'm doing. And we sort of look at all of the ways that things, well, not all of them, but some of the ways that things might change, and what it actually means to have the rave coming in. So yeah, well, let me know if you're interested and I'll send you the details of that, but that's not what this is about. So gate 60 is the grounding, of course, to our sun at the moment, and the 60 line 4 is called resourcefulness. So I guess it's very useful, excuse me, to have access to resourcefulness when you are trying to externalize your message, when you're waiting for the correct opportunity to share your stimulating stories. It can be a real help in being aware of knowing exactly when to externalize, and also what, and where to find the material for your stimulating stories, because sometimes some resourcefulness is needed there as well. This is my personality south node. So having that resourcefulness to sort of feed into the expediency of the 56, it's very much a supportive grounding influence. The moon is still in gate 60, so we have a bit of a double 60 for a little while, and then it moves into another root gate 41 at 1603, and this is the gate of decrease, the gate of contraction. Here we have the limitation and more limitation of resources, which maximizes development of potential. This is a gate of fantasy, a gate of imagination. It's about having new experiences with the pressure of desire, possibly manifesting as sexual desire, sexual fantasy, daydreaming, and the impulse to experience life and to interact with others through feelings. And then we have another root gate, gate 19, at what time? 1:26 tomorrow morning. This is the gate of approach, the gate of wanting, flirting, and need. It's the need to access basic resources through successful interactions with others, so that material and emotional needs for food, shelter, and the protection of territory are all taken care of. It's looking for those who share the same principles to strike a bargain with. You know, this tribal leads up into the 3740 through the 49. So it wants to bond, it wants to interact, and it has a very specific and regulated way of wanting to do that. It creates the foundation of a functioning community through that. And it's a gate of sensitivity, which also means it can be the gate of oversensitivity, of course. So gate 19, enjoy this energy, because we don't have it around for very much longer. Not in the scheme of things. We are losing gate 19 in 2027 as part of the mutation that's coming in. So yeah, enjoy flirting. You've got 2.5 years to flirt as much as you can. And if it's correct for you and you're enjoying all of those little sidebars, and go flirt. Yeah, gate 19, it's leaving our experience. Interesting, isn't it? All of those things that I just said about gate 19, not going to matter in a way after 2027. And it will for us, for those of us who still have it, and for those of us who have experienced it. But anybody coming in after the Ides of February in 2027, they won't have it in their design anymore. They might have the experience of it from us and from our memory, and we will condition them with it almost certainly. But once all of us have gone, once we've left the building in 100 and say 120 years to be generous, wow, that it just won't have that energy in the world anymore. Interesting to ponder. Yeah, I think that's it for now. That's the 56, line 4. Enjoy your day. Thank you for joining me, and go gently. Bye-bye.